Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mind the Mental Monday. It is so good to be with you this second day in the month of March. I think we are headed towards spring. I don't want to see another snowflake. I don't know about y'all, but I've had my fill of snow for this winter. And yeah, I'm looking forward to spring coming in because I'm ready to spring. I don't know about y'all. Uh, Spring, tends to help with our mental health because we have sunshine for a longer period of time. We have the flowers that start to bloom and the trees are budding and leaves are coming back in and even the little animals that awaken, the little bunnies, hopping around and so forth, just brings so much, I don't know, a joy. It just makes you feel good, right? When the weather gets better and when we can see more of the sun for longer stretches of time. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of the different seasons. I'm grateful that we got through this winter, even with two blizzards. I'm grateful that we were able to pull through and, we're able to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, as they say, the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. So, I'm excited to get ready to sort of go into a new season. Um, I also want to take this moment to um, remember somebody who is very dear. Um, you all know Joy, who is on my team. Just recently, her grandmother, um, a couple of days ago, went home to be with the Lord at 97 years old. And it doesn't matter what the age is, like, it doesn't matter how old or young, when you lose a loved one, and her grandmother is her rock. Her grandmother is somebody that I've known since I was a very young child, who very near and dear to my family, as well. My dad was her pastor, and then my brother is her current pastor, and so the whole family, just we're all family, and it just means so much. She was a business owner, owned a tuxedo business, rental business back in the day, and she was a very strong and courageous and godly woman, and she will be missed. So I'm going to ask all of you who hear this and who are listening to please keep Joy and her mom in your prayers, and the entire family. And, I want to dedicate this episode of Mind the Mental Monday to Miss Lorraine Mitchell. And may she rest in power. I know that she is gazing upon the face of the Lord. So we know that she truly has gone home, and she is resting in the arms of Jesus. And so that gives us comfort. Um, but the grief is still very much there. And it is a process, and um, it is something that will be lived through right from now on. And so let's please just keep them in our prayers. And thank you all, because I know that the community of the Mind the Mental community is a praying community. I believe that. So thank you in advance for that. So, March is the beginning of Women's History Month. And I wanted to do something that helps us to remember uh, that, as for those of us, I know that there are going to be men who will watch this as well. I want you to know that what I'm going to talk about in this episode really can you can get something out of this as well, because there are men who can also um, identify with having a mental load. So we're going to talk tonight about the mental load, the invisible weight that women carry. And historically, women have shouldered the weight of a lot of things, right? Women are the ones who, behind the scenes, were very much a part of, the civil rights movement, the women's suffrage movement, of course. They were sort of front and center in that movement to gain rights for women. But the these the civil rights movement, even though Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the face of the movement, there were many, many, many women and men, but there were many women who, because they were women, could not really be the face necessarily in the same way that Dr. King was, but they were very, very, very much a part of the movement, and a part of even a lot of the decision making in the movement. And so they did more than just, prepare meals for the men that were, sort of the front facing in the movement. They did more than just, sort of, prepare meals and clean up and watch and, keep their children and make sure the children were okay while their fathers were out, fighting this war that we tend to have to fight for whatever reason in this country. And they were really integral parts of the movement. And so in doing so, they were not only managing their households, many of them were working while they're managing their households and while they are managing aspects of this humongous movement. And I think that women can relate to just carrying um a mental load. And so that is what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're not going to just sort of talk about, mental load and sort of what it is and what it does and how it impacts us. We're going to give some practical insight into how to manage mental load and practical steps to handle the mental load that we as women in particular find ourselves faced with, that we find ourselves carrying um, day after day after day. Um, and in the words of our sister, Dr. Maya Angelou, in spite of all the mental load that we carry, still we rise, right? And so I want us to also be encouraged that our mental load does not have to weight us down to a point where it takes us out. And that is what I want us to prevent, that we don't allow the weight of the world and our workplace and our households and organizations that we participate in and all of the things that we manage on a day-to-day basis to to weight us down so much that we find ourselves with all kinds of sicknesses. We find ourselves with high blood pressure. We find ourselves with diabetes and all kinds of anxiety and stress and heart disease, which is the number one. We just came out of a month where we recognized heart disease, and it is the number one killer of women. A lot of people might think it's breast cancer, but no, heart disease is the number one killer of women. Heart disease is something that many women are impacted by, and they're not impacted in the same way that men are, and so it goes largely undiagnosed, with people thinking it's gas, or it's just esophageal reflux, or GERD, acid reflux, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is a heart attack. So, in this Women's History Month, I want us to be history making women. And history is not just in the past. History is what we're doing right now. And we cannot make history if we're sick. And that's whether it's mentally or physically. And I always talk about the fact that mental health is health. And so our mental health and our physical health are tied together. They are one. And many times the mental health and the mental weight that we add to that we undergo, that mental load that we carry, often ends up transpiring into some kind of physical health condition that could have been avoided if we were to take the steps necessary to rest our mental. And so I want to know, and I want you to put it in the chat, put it in the comments. Have you ever been just physically just sitting, minding your own business? Like, you might not, it might be one of those rare moments that you feel like, oh, I can get some rest. But as you are sitting and as you are thinking that you're resting, your mind is going to, it's like you got a list of 30 things in your head that's got to get done. Right? It's like, oh, I gotta go to the bank tomorrow. Oh, I gotta pay such and such a bill to today, or else it's going to be late. Oh, I've got to take my daughter to dance class. Oh, I gotta take my child to basketball practice. Oh, I've got like 10 things I got to get done at work. I got to get this report done. It's got to be in the hands of my supervisor by, tomorrow. I've got, can anybody relate to that? That you're sitting and you think that you're resting, but your head you're going through all of these things that you need to get done, right? You've got deadlines. And then on top of that, you not only have deadlines for yourself, but you got deadlines for other people, right? You're managing your household, so you got deadlines to meet for your children. You got deadlines to meet for your spouse. You got to help them with something. Somebody is having an emotional breakdown, and you got to be there to sort of help pick up the pieces. These are all things that women in particular go through. I can remember back when my children were young, and it seemed like it literally, I would come home, I would pull up in the driveway, I would sit in the driveway for a little bit because I knew. Now I've just come home from a long, hard day of work, but I knew that the minute I stepped across that threshold, I was going to be, my family was going to like swarm on me, which happened all the time. And so it's like as soon as I could barely get the key in the door, but as soon as I walked in, they come running, mom, mom, mom. My husband be like, babe, and they want to everybody wants to kind of tell me what happened with their day all at the same time. So I got to a place where it was just like, I can't, like, so I had to say to them, hey, I love y'all, and I promise you're going to get your moment with me, but I need 15 minutes. Okay? Give me 15 minutes, right? I need to at least go like because I couldn't even get I still have my bags on my shoulder. And, it's like, let me put my stuff down. Let me, go to the bathroom. Let me like change my clothes. Let me get comfortable. Let me breathe. And then I promise I'm gonna give each one of you some time, but Mama need a few minutes. Can anybody relate to that? Um, where you just feel like, ah! it's like so much coming at you at once. And at the same, while that's happening, you're thinking about the day that you had at work, and you're thinking about what you did, stuff that was left undone, that now you got to think about what you're doing tomorrow. And I mean, it gets to be a lot, right? I know I'm not the only one that's going through this, and I see my team is kind of lighting up the chat like every second, minute, and hour. And now, when you're in this generation of being in between, so now you're not only taking care of your children, but you're also then taking care of like your parents, right? You're taking care of your grandparents. You're a caregiver on both sides of the coin, and you feel sandwiched in. You feel like you're just being squished. Um, I know I'm not the only one that has felt this. And for me, I wasn't even my sister was like, the caregiver for all of the elders in our family, from my grandparents to my parents. Like, she was like the caregiver. Um, and even at that, it's like, because even though like I was away, like I didn't, lived away from my family. I still called and checked and that sort of thing, and still was you try to be as involved, as I could be, while at the same time, managing my household. So, and managing being, working a 40-hour a week job, and managing being in ministry. Like, so it's a lot, when you are involved in things. And I remember a session I had even with my therapist, where she had me sort of writing down all these, what things I was involved in and things I needed to do. And it was just a lot. And it was kind of like, when you actually write down like what you do on a day to day, you don't really even realize how much it is until you actually start sort of think about it. And you have to sort of just try to manage it as well as you can. But the mental load that comes with that is something that can be very challenging to deal with. And it's something that we have to deal with, but it's also something that we need to talk about. It's something that we can support each other in, to, our sisters, and say, sisters, we got a lot to do. With all this mess going on out here in this world, we got a lot, we got a lot to do with that. We've got a lot in raising our children and having to help them to navigate this world. If you are the parent of a child who has, I don't like to say special needs, because I feel like everybody has special needs, right? But children who have unique abilities, as we call the ministry that Minister Ebony is over in our church, um, you know, parents with children with unique abilities sometimes go through things that, if you have not walked in those shoes, you have no idea the enormity of the things that they go through, from when their children are firstborn, a lot of times maybe premature, and in the NICU for however long they're there, all the way up until they then become adults. And then I just started, learning through, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but through Minister Ebony's experience of, when they become 18, you have to then get guardianship of them. You got to get an attorney, and, sometimes you might not know like how that's going to go. Um, and so, and then put that now on top of maybe being a caregiver for them, now a parent, it is a lot, and it is easy to sort of lose yourself in all of the different kinds of loads that we carry. And it's not that you think of your child as a load, or your parent or grandparent as a load or a burden. No, but there's a reality of the levels of things that have to be done to care for them. You still have to take care of their financial business. If it's like a parent or grandparent, sometimes like you have to, if they are homeowners, you have to make sure that the home is if they still have a mortgage, like make sure that stuff is getting paid. You got to still make sure that the taxes on the property are being kept up. Like all of these kinds of things that a lot of times, and this is where, this is not just a woman thing. I mean, this is men go through these things as well. But I'm focusing on women on, just because it's Women's History Month. And I kind of, I'm as a woman, I'm sort of dealing with it sort of from a woman's perspective, but in a way that we will you will be men will also be able to get something out of this tonight. Minister Abby says it feels like a roller coaster without a conductor controlling the speed. My God. My God, can you imagine? Just imagine yourself on a roller coaster that's just going out of control, and it's all kinds of loops and uphills and downhills and curves, and your stomach is got that feeling in the pit of it, over and over again. It is a lot to carry, but we don't have to carry it alone. Um, but sometimes it feels like it's alone because sometimes some people don't have um support systems in place. And I've talked before about, trying to, if you don't have a support system, like trying to intentionally cultivate one, whether it's through some kind of support group that other people who are in your same similar, I won't say your same circumstance, but similar circumstances might be going through, that can help you to put some things in perspective, and that you can just be a support for each other. It could be, your friends, and being honest with them about what you're actually going through and saying, hey, sis, I need you. And it's not a one-sided thing, because then your sis should be able to say back to you, hey, I need you too. We need each other. Hezekiah Walker has a song that says, I need you to survive. We need each other to survive. We need each other. We need to be able to call on one another without thinking that we're being a burden. We need to be able to um, have, those people that we can call on and just be brutally honest with, to say, I am losing it. I had somebody, one of our church members, just yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday. When I asked her, like, how are you? Like I asked, I said, are you okay? Because I could see in her face there was something. And I said, are you okay? And I was so glad that she was honest and said, no, I'm not okay. We need to have people that we can feel free to be honest with, to say, no, I'm not okay. Because women in particular, and in particular, I'm going to say it, Black women in particular, are always made to believe that we have to have it all together all the time, and that we've got to have it together for everybody. Um, but but sometimes we don't have it together for ourselves. And it's okay for us to say, I don't have it all together. I don't have the capacity right now to deal with your stuff. I do, because I'm going through some stuff myself right now. We have to get to a place where we can be comfortable enough to be able to say it to those that that we are close with. And in that process, you will come to understand who your real friends are. You will come to understand who is truly family, right? Because not all skin folk are kinfolk, as we say in our community. So not all blood folk, you know, you might have the same blood, but not everybody in your family is going to be there for you like you think they should. Sometimes you're going to have to go outside of your family. And sometimes, as I said, in the case of like a support group, you could be in a support group with people that you don't know from a can of paint. As, I don't know, where did that saying come from? Anyway, I'm gonna say it because that's what we used to say back in the day. You don't know him, don't know them from a can of paint, but you know their experience in some way. You can identify, you can relate to their experience because their experience is very similar to yours. Minister Abby says we always want to be that superwoman that handles everything and get it done, even if it hurts us. And I just told her tonight because she is exhausted. I'm a call you out, Minister Ebony. she she said I am exhausted. And I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. And I said, "Hey, sis, come on, you can take off tonight." And she was like, "No, I'm okay." And I appreciate you, but I want you to get some rest. I care about you. All right? Just know that. Um, so, so we're going to talk about the mental load and the invisible weight that women carry every single day. And so the what we when we think of the invisible load, when we think about or the mental load, some of the things that we might think of are things like in planning. You know, we might have an event and the event is could be months away, but we got to plan it. We got to start planning it now. So we got to start getting our mind together. So you got to put down that list of what has to get done for this particular event. And you can't really see it. You can't, nobody outside of you can see that you got all these wheels spinning in your head um about thinking about what you need to get done, but it's there and it's taking up space. It's taking up valuable space. Emotional tracking. There are things that we're going through internally or that we're even planning that could play some kind of take an emotional toll on us. It's an emotional toll when we're caregiving for somebody um, who has dementia. In the case of my father in love, it is hard every time we see him and he doesn't remember who we are. It is hard to see that. It is hard to fathom that this man who worked 55 years in a plant, um, and who did a lot of heavy lifting and working on heavy machinery, that this man is now somebody who doesn't remember who we are a lot of the time. Every once in a while he remembers, but for the most part, he doesn't. The emotional toll that takes, and it on me, but on my husband, who has known him since birth, who is his child, to go in a room and your father not know who you are or not remember that you are a grown person and you're no longer a little boy, like all of the things that go along with all of the emotional turmoil that goes along with that, is that low is a part of the load. Um, constantly anticipating, how is this person going to be properly cared for? Or, if they're in a nursing facility or an assisted living facility, are they being cared for properly? Are they being are they really being taken care of? Are they getting fed? If they, in like in the case of my father-in-law who is on a pureed diet and has to be fed, is no longer able to feed himself. Are they getting food when we're not there looking? Those kinds of, anticipating, or, you've got a meeting coming up and you know that you got to talk about some things that are hard to talk about, that anticipation, that anxiety that comes along with that, all of that emotional toil. having to try to organize and things in different aspects of your life. You got to organize stuff for your job. You got to organize stuff in your household. You got to organize stuff for people you're taking care of. You got to organize stuff in ministry. You got to organize stuff in organizations, you might be participating in, the fraternity, sorority, you know, uh, nonprofit organization, whatever the case might be. There's different aspects of our lives that we are all trying to manage that carry with it heavy weight and loads. Um, and Stephanie says that weighs on you when you want the best for your loved ones and not sure if they're getting it. Absolutely. Because the truth of the matter is nobody but nobody is going to take care of your loved one like you would. Nobody. Nobody is going to care for your loved one like you. Not going to take the same care with them as they're feeding them, not going to take the same care with them as they're bathing them. You hope that they would, and you'd hope that people that go into professions like that would have a care, would actually, have a heart for people, right, who are no longer able to do for themselves, to even think, if I were in this situation, how would I want to be treated? If I'm in a situation where I no longer am in my right mind, if I'm in a situation where I'm bedridden and I can't do for myself anymore, how would I want to be treated? How would I want somebody to take care of me? But there are people that don't think like that. And there are people for whom, when they're in those kinds of occupations, for them, it's just a paycheck. That's it. This is a way to pay my bills. I couldn't afford to go to nursing school. So, being here in this whatever level, and this is paying the bills. And that's all they see it as. Right? So all of that weighs on you. I remember when my mother was in a nursing facility, and she was actually in one of the nicer ones in Baltimore, and we were there, my sister in particular, but my siblings, because they lived there. Somebody was there literally every single day, except for the when the pandemic happened, which was really hard. But every time I went to see her, every time I had to leave, it felt like I was leaving her, and it hurt. It crushed me. It was like I wanted to stay there like all the time. Like I just wanted to sit there and just rub her head all the time. I didn't want to leave her. And yet I knew that I had to, because why? I have a job that I have to get to, because I got bills that have to get paid, right? And so all of that is that mental load that we don't necessarily see, but we have to also think about that others might be going through that too. And so thinking about that allows us to give others even a little more grace. That person that, cut you off on the highway, that person who's working the cash register in the store, and they might be a little bit snappy, or they might not, they might seem to be being rude, but in their head, they're not only just checking out your groceries, they are mentally thinking, um, oh, my child, I got to get my child from daycare by a certain time. If I don't get him by a certain time, it's going to be, they're going to charge me an extra. I'm going to have to pay a fine. The store, my boss is making me, wanting me to work a little longer because somebody called out. And so now I need to take over what they're supposed to do. And I got to get somebody to get my child, because if I walk out early, I might lose this job. And if I lose this job, then I can't feed my child. I can't house my child. I can't pay for the daycare that they got to go through. The people can be going through all of that, and while they're checking you out, while they're doing your groceries, and they're and it's not an excuse, for people to get snappy with you, but it helps us to relate that, I have bad days too. I have days where I struggle. just to get out of the bed. I struggle. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to face people. I don't want to see people. I work 2 days a week from home, and I go into the office 3 days a week, one of which is Friday. When I go into the office on Fridays, nobody is in the suite. The whole suite is empty. I'm the only one in the whole suite, and I love it because it's quiet, and I can get focused, right? And not that I dislike the people that I work with. I work with some decent people. I really do. Um, but I like just having my own space. There are days that I just don't feel like being bothered with people. I don't. And there are days that people don't feel like being bothered with me. So, you know, understanding that reality, you're not the only one. Everybody, we all have our days where we're carrying these loads, and sometimes it just gets to a point where it's like I just need space in myself to breathe, just to breathe. So, um, we're often carrying a lot of things: household logistics, emotional temperature checks, relationship maintenance, our spiritual, we trying to keep our spiritual selves together. We trying to make sure we get up in time, that we pray. Make sure that we exercising, thinking about what we're going to cook for dinner, thinking about, just a whole lot of different things all at the same time. So why is mental load so heavy? Well, one of the reasons that mental load is so heavy is because it's invisible. Nobody else can see it. So people don't understand when you are snappy sometimes. People don't understand what you're going through when you seem to be like just off, when you seem to be a little grumpy. Well, I got a reason to be grumpy. I got 10 million things that that's going through my mind right now, that I got to figure out how to place them, how to prioritize them. When can I do what? Because as one person, you can only do one thing at one time. We have this thing, where we feel like we can multitask, but we've learned through science that there really is literally not a way to multitask. Our brains are only capable of doing one thing at a time. So we might think we're multitasking, but something going to get dropped. Something gonna fall through the cracks, because we can only think of so much at once. We can only actually put our brains through doing but so much at a time. So it's heavy because it's invisible. And so if it's not seen, it's hard to acknowledge what you can't see. So just like I was saying a few minutes ago about having grace with those people who are dealing with some stuff that we can't see, but it comes out a kind of a way. Sometimes people don't even realize how they're coming across. And so if it's somebody that you're close to and somebody that you love, you can even pull them to the side and say, "Hey, are you all right?" Because, the way you handled that, the way you spoke to me just a minute ago was a little snappy. Are you okay? And really mean that, like really be checking in. Are you really are you all right? And then you might find out some other things, that they're not just being snappy just to be snappy. They're being snappy because they got a lot of stuff going on in their heads. It's constant. That's the other thing. That's why the other thing that so there's no escape route. Like there's no like off button. It's on a continual sort of loop, all of the different things. That's why it is recommended that before you go to bed at night, that you do we call a brain dump. And I've talked ad nauseum about writing down things, right? Just, and it's not even, but a brain dump is like literally everything in your head, you just write it down. Like not in any kind of particular order. Not, it's not a task list. It is literally all the stuff in your head, just writing it down and just getting it out of your head so that you can actually sleep, so that you can actually try as best you can to get a peaceful night's rest. Because when you go to bed with all that stuff just roaming around in your head, you already in tomorrow. But right now, your body is saying, "But right now, I need rest." Your body can't really rest when you have all of this stuff in your head, because then you end up tossing and turning, and you're waking up, 3, 4 times a night, and it's not because you're waking up because you got to go to the bathroom. You're waking up because the stuff in your head is waking you up. It's making it so you can't sleep well. So getting it out, doing that brain dump just right before you go to bed and be like, because at least when it's out, it's like, okay, it's there. I can't do nothing with none of this right now. So close your little journal book or wherever you write it down, put it to the side, go to sleep. And then when you wake up, you can say, okay, of these things, these five, these 10 things, they don't need to get done right now. They're not an emergency. But this right here, oh, I got to get this done. Oh, this bill right here, oh, yeah, that's got to get paid. This deposit, that's got to get made. You know what I mean? Like in the next day, you can just pull off of it what is really like what you really need to get done. Um, why is the mental load so heavy? One, it's invisible. Two, it's constant. Three, it's emotional. I talked about that already. You're expected to manage so much, not only within yourself, but you're expected to manage, others around you. If you supervise people, you have to be present and be able to work well with them. You've got to be able to work well with others around you. You've got to be, able to handle sometimes um uh, uh, people in your family, your children, your spouse, the emotions that they're going through. And you have to be able to, a lot of times women in particular, you're expected to manage that. You're expected to keep the harmony. You're expected to bring everything into harmony and peace. Um, the celebrations, conflict, comfort, all of that. Like you're the one, oh, so and so's birthday. You gotta do it up. You gotta make sure that this is done and that's done and that's done. Right. And so it's a lot. But this other thing here, the reason that it is so that it can be such a load is that it is tied to identity. Women in particular, we are socialized to believe that we are supposed to be all things to all people, right? That we are supposed to do it all. Remember that Anjali? Well, I'm really about to age myself, but I think it's a perfume commercial. Yes, Anjali, Anjali, something like that. But the jingle was the woman comes home and she's like, I can bring home the bacon fried up in the pan and never let you forget you're a man. Like I can do it all. I can go to work 40 hours a week and come home and make sure make sure the house is together, make sure your meals are done and all the things, right? Like I can do it all. Shaka Khan and then later Whitney Houston sang the song, I'm every woman. I'm every woman. It's all in me. It's not all in us, sis. I hate to bust our bubble, and I love that. That's one of my favorite songs. I'm every woman. One of my favorite songs. I love it. Both versions of it. I like Shaka's version and I like Whitney's version. You can't go wrong with either of those versions. But guess what? We are not every woman. We are one of one, as I've said a gazillion times. We're one of one. It is not all in me. And therefore, I have to understand when I need to take a seat, when I need to take a beat and take a breath and take a break. And when I can designate some things to somebody else, I need to do that. And if somebody offers to help, I need to say, okay, they offered, sis, I'm going to take you up on that offer because if I don't, I'm afraid, an artery is going to burst. Some, just all the things that can come up. Like I don't have it all. I am not every woman. I I am not multiple clones of me. I am just me. And no, I can't do any and everything that you want naturally. It's a farce. I can't do it. I can't do all the things. I can do some of the things, and maybe I can do all the things, but I can't do all the things at one time. I can't do all the things right now. I can't do all the things in the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, days, weeks, months, years. I can't do all of it. So now I've got to figure out the pieces that mean the most. And I've got to prioritize those things. And yes, I'm going to prioritize me because when I do that, then when it's time for me to make you the priority, I'm going to do it. I'm going to feel better about it. I'm not going to be doing it with an attitude. Because if you're doing something for somebody with an attitude, just don't do it. That's I do not like that. I don't like don't do something for me, but you got an attitude while you doing it. If you got an attitude while you doing something for me, listen, it's okay. I Now I don't need that kind of help. I need genuine help. I need help from people that's like, I've got this is sort of a downtime for me, so I got the energy and I got what I need to do to help you. All right. So, but don't if you got an attitude and like no, go take care of that. Go take care of yourself. I'll manage. And if you're not able to help this go around, doesn't necessarily mean you just not willing to help, but you don't have the capacity. So don't try to force yourself to have the capacity to help to do everything and be every woman to everybody. You just can't. It's just not possible. All right? So just take that off, take that load off right now and breathe. Oh, for somebody, that was a breath right there. Like, oh wait, I don't have to be every woman. No, sis, you don't. You don't. I'm gonna relieve you of that right now. All right, so here are some signs that you are carrying too much mental load. You ready? Here's number one. You're exhausted, but can't explain why. Have you ever felt like you got a full night's sleep? However many hours you might need, 6 to 8 hours of sleep without waking up. And then you get up and you're still tired. You still you're lethargic. The alarm clock goes off. You just want to turn over. I shouldn't say the alarm. Well, see, I'm aging myself again by saying alarm clock. Remember those days? Who still has an alarm clock? I think I still have it, but I don't use it. I use my phone as my alarm. Like I think most people do. But Minister Ebony still has an alarm clock, okay? And I know there are others of you out there that do and know what that is. Um, but you're exhausted, but you can't explain why. It's like, well, I got a full night's sleep. Why am I still tired? Why am I still exhausted like this? I'm not sick, but I'm exhausted. It's because mental she said her name is Alexa. Yeah. Yes, Alexa is a lot of people's alarm now. Um, but yeah, it's that mental exhaustion. And it causes you to be physically exhausted as well. Another sign that you're carrying too much mental load is that you resent others, but you don't say anything. Have you ever been there? Other people are walking around, they seem to be all happy. They seem to have a lot of energy and they are all bubbly and you start to resent that they get to feel that way because you feel you not there because you got so much to do that you just you don't feel like you are able to laugh and smile and be playful and all those kinds of things. And then you start resenting others. You start resenting, um, uh, other people who put themselves first. And you start to look at them like, why are you putting yourself first? You mad at them because they get to they don't get to, but they are taking the opportunity to sit back and put their feet up and just relax while you feel like you're running around doing everything. Well, you don't have to either. You can choose to sit down and put your feet up too. Ain't nobody forcing you to do what you're doing. But we become resentful of people who take the opportunity to do the things that we wish that we were bold enough to do. You feel like the default parent or the default planner. You are tasked with planning and doing everything. There are times where I find myself saying, because I feel like a lot of organizations that I'm a part of, I am in some kind of leadership role. Has been that way literally since I was very young. Um, and there were times where I find myself saying like I don't want to have to lead something because in leading it, then you gotta like have the vision and you gotta follow up with people and you got, like I want to be like just be the one to sit in the back of the room and you give me my one task and I'll do that and be done with it. I don't want to have to oversee the whole thing. Like I just don't like sometimes I just want to just tell me what to do. I don't want to have to be the one to think of what to do or to tell other people what to do. Like you just tell me what I need to do. Give me my one little task and I'm gonna do my one little task and I'm gonna go sit down somewhere. Anybody else feel like that sometimes? Anybody? Anybody? Let me know. Put it in the comments. Let me know. Um, you constantly think 5 steps ahead. Now that right there, now that's my husband. I know I'm doing this as a tribute to not women's mental health, Women's History Month. But my husband is always 5 steps ahead. He's not going to soak in the accomplishment he made today. Everybody else will be like, "Oh, that's great. Oh, congratulations." And he's already moved on. Um, but take a minute to just stop and say, this is what I accomplished. I accomplished something today. Because otherwise, it just all just kind of goes in, your days just kind of go into each other, and you feel like you're not doing anything. You feel like you're not accomplishing anything, but you actually are. Like, take some time to note that you are what you've accomplished today. You know, tomorrow has what it needs already for itself. Like, you got today. So think about what you've done today. And and that's not to say to not plan, right? It's not to say that you don't plan, but what it is to say is that you can at least give yourself that day, and you can, if the Lord gives you tomorrow, which is not promised, you can then begin your planning for the next step tomorrow. But today, you know, give yourself credit for what you did today. You accomplished something today. Give yourself credit. It's okay. Not being cocky, not being arrogant, not being self-centered. It's just recognizing, okay, I did accomplish something, and really just sitting in it and with it for a minute. All right. You struggle to relax because your mind won't shut off. I know that there's so many people out there who can relate to that your mind just will not shut off because, again, you of all the gazillion things that's in there of that you got to do. And so you don't have time for your mind to shut off. But you need to, that's why doing that brain dump before you go to bed, that's a way, to try to shut off your mind somewhat so that your mind, because the point of sleep is not just so that your body can sort of repair itself, but it's also so that your brain can repair itself. You have how many tens of thousands of thoughts every single day? Your brain is doing a lot because your brain is responsible for everything that you do. Your brain is responsible for, having to type that email. You got to use your brain. Your brain is responsible for telling you to walk. Your brain is responsible for telling you, to use the bathroom. Your brain is responsible for telling you to eat, and then helping you to eat. Like, your brain is literally doing a lot throughout the course of a day. So the reason that you sleep is because your brain needs to shut off so that it can do the repair that it needs to do throughout your body. It is necessary. People talking about, I don't need that much sleep. If I'm sleeping, I ain't making my money. Well, figure out a way to invest such that your money is making money for you in your sleep, but get some sleep. Um, you feel guilty when you rest. That's another thing my husband goes through a lot. Like when he does rest, he feels guilty. You feel guilty because you feel like there's so much that needs to get done without thinking about there's so much I've already done. Think about it that way rather than as you're relaxing, thinking of all the things you have to do. Think about all the things that you've already done. And therefore, you need to relax and rest so that you can have the strength and the energy and the capacity to do the other things that you need to get done. Unapologetically. That is the word of the day. Y'all know my word is intentional, right? You got to be intentionally unapologetic. That's the other word. The word of the day, unapologetic. Say it with me. Unapologetic. All right. Rest unapologetically. Guess what? Them dishes ain't going nowhere. They can't walk. Them dishes, they in sync. They're gonna be there. They don't have to get washed this second. You can give yourself a break and then and then get up, and because if you're like me, like leaving dishes in the sink is just not gonna feel like I'm not gonna really be able to fully rest till I can get it done. But at least give yourself a minute and go get it done and then go rest for the night. All right? Without guilt. All right. So we already talked about the emotional impact, and it's already 9 o'clock, so I'm about to wind it down. But what I do want to make sure you get tonight are some practical ways to lighten the mental load. So the first thing is to name it. Name it. Name, and I said that. That's a part of your brain dump, is when all the stuff in your head, you just name it. Write it down, right? Because you can't heal what you don't even acknowledge is there. You can't heal what you don't acknowledge, you know? So I'm carrying a lot. I need to lighten the load. Let yourself unapologetically lighten the load. When you write some of that stuff down, you might see some stuff in there that you can delegate, that you can get somebody else to do. And there are people that will do it if you just ask. You have not, because you what? You ask not. That's what the word of God says. Um, you name it, you externalize it by writing it down, you delegate without guilt, um, and then you stop over functioning, right? Because sometimes we think that we're the only ones that can do a thing. You're not the only one that can do a thing. Somebody else might not do it the way that you do it, but it get the same result. Just because somebody doesn't do it the way you do it does not make it wrong. It just means that their way of getting to the same end is different than your way of getting to it. But let them do it. However they do it. Let them do it. Um and also just let them learn. Now, if your way makes it easier, teach somebody. Teach someone how to do a thing. Many times we have this thing of, well, I do it faster if I just do it myself. Okay, that might be true, but you're going to be doing it all the time. You're never going to get help for it because you feel like you're the only one that can do it the right way. Well, just because that's the way you do it, don't make it right. It's just the way that you do it. And if you want somebody to do it like you do it, which is not going to happen, well, if you want somebody to do it similar to the way you do it, you would teach them how to do it. And yeah, it's going to take time. It does take time to teach somebody how to do something. But once you teach them, you'd be surprised the load that it's like, oh, they can do it. Imagine that. Imagine that. Somebody else can do it. All right. The last thing is to schedule mental rest, right? Just give yourself an opportunity to not plan something like the thing that it Zoom thinks that I was raising my hand. I was not raising my hand, Zoom. Um, but don't plan anything. Just don't do it. No planning, no organizing, no managing. Just allow yourself to be. Allow yourself a minute, more than a minute, to just be. And it's not as easy as it might as I'm saying it, but when you do it with intention, when you do it intentionally and unapologetically, eventually you'll get it. And it'll feel so good that you're going to do it again. When you find yourself on that overload, you're going to schedule mental rest intentionally and unapologetically. Turn off the phone. Whoever called, they can call later. They can send you a text message and you can read it later. Go back to the days where when we before we had cell phones, before we were carrying these things around our whole lives in our pockets all day long, where people can just get in touch with us all day long. They can watch where we're going. There's the email, all day long, everything all day long in these little handheld computers. Put it away, put it in another room, and go get yourself some mental because when a lot of times this thing right here. Oh, y'all might not can see it, but this thing right here is what we do all the planning in, the organizing, the managing, and doom scrolling on social media. None of it is good for our mental health. None of it is. So put this little thing, I'm talking to myself now. Put it down, put it away, put it somewhere where you can't see it light up and you can't hear it ring, and give yourself a chance to mentally decompress. All right. So here's a way to shift your mindset, and we're going to give you some self work, and I hope you do it. And again, this will be on the blog on my website that is associated with this Mind the Mental Monday. So go to benitaweathers.com, subscribe and to the blog, and you'll be able to read the information that I'm communicating, not in the same way I'm communicating it, but you'll be able to read about the topic, and it will have these assignments in there where you can go do the assignments for yourself. I always call it self work. Let me lower my hand. All right. All right. So here is your some ways to shift your mindset. So replace I have to do it all with I'm allowed to share the load. Replace no one else will think of it with if it matters to them, they will learn to think of it. Replace I'm just tired with I am mentally overloaded. Tell the truth and shame the devil. I am at my wit's end. Just say it. And therefore, I need to decompress. I need to sit in a corner, lay in the bed, wherever it is, however you do it, you just need to do it. So here's your exercise for the week. And this is called the mental load audit. One, write down everything you are mentally managing. Now, for some of us, it might take 3, 4 days to do that, or more. Because a lot of us are mentally managing a lot. Circle what only you can do. And then maybe use a different shape, put a square or something around, or maybe color code, what someone else can learn to do. That's something you can delegate. And then also, and maybe in a different color, highlight, what doesn't need to be done at all. Because some of the stuff just don't need to get done. It's like, it really don't. It's just your own internal stuff. It's like, you know what? As I'm looking at this is really not that important. That don't need to get done. All right. And then have one honest conversation this week. All right. All right. Here's some reflection questions, and then we're going to end with these. When did I start believing it was my job to carry everything? What am I afraid will happen if I stop carrying everything? Hmm. Who benefits from my over functioning? And lastly, I love this one. What would freedom feel like? Oh, just imagining. Ooh, what would freedom feel like to you? So again, all those correct questions will be in the blog post. Hope that you go there and because I take the time to put it there in hopes that you'll read it. You'll go back and read it and do the exercises because I want it to be helpful to you. So happy Women's History Month, women. Um, what history are you making? Put that in the comments. What history are you making, women? Um, all right. Thank you for tuning in. I know that this was a really long episode. I hope that you will still listen to it, even if you have to listen to it in pieces. But I want to thank you for tuning in. And for this Mind the Mental Monday, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. This will be on my YouTube channel. So subscribe to it and like it. Like and share the episodes, please. That would be the algorithms will love that, and that will be really helpful for me. Even share it here on Facebook. It'll come down eventually from Facebook, but it'll always live on YouTube. So please go and check them out there. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful week. And you know what? You know what I say. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I will see you next Monday. God bless. Have a wonderful week.